They didn't schedule a meeting about you. They didn't request a second opinion or flag a routine anomaly. At R. Ling A to M, they called an emergency conference, the kind reserved for disasters, not patients. No charts prepared for comfort. Professional distance. 2 senior physicians stood on opposite sides of a sterile conference room. Voices raised, composure shattered, arguing not about treatment plans, but about reality itself. One of them was convinced you were dying. The other was terrified you weren't, Doctor. Sarah Chen, an oncologist with more than 2 decades of experience, stared at your lab results as if they were mocking her. Her hands trembled as she spoke. She had seen thousands of terminal cases, and she recognized the pattern, or at least she thought she did. To her, the data screamed collapse, cellular breakdown, systemic failure, a body approaching its limit. 6 months, she said, her voice tight. At best, across the room stood Dr. Marcus Webb, an evolutionary biologist dragged into the situation because someone realized the data didn't belong in standard medicine. He wasn't calm. He was furious that anyone could look at what was happening inside you and call it failure. This isn't degeneration, he snapped. It's restructuring. These cells aren't dying. They're becoming something else. Dend. Meanwhile, you were sitting in a waiting room, flipping through outdated magazines, wondering how a basic checkup had derailed into hours of silence and closed doors. What you didn't know was that 3 medical professionals were staring at your results, silently weighing whether acknowledging what they were seeing would cost them their reputations or their sanity. Because what was circulating in your bloodstream wasn't supposed to exist. Not in a living person. Not in any organism expected to survive the week, Doctor. Chen presented her case first. Your red blood cells weren't breaking down the way they do in terminal illness. They were crystallizing, forming rigid geometric structures that should have shredded your circulatory system from the inside. She had seen this once before in a patient with a rare genetic condition. That patient survived 17 days. You had been like this for at least 8 months. Old records confirmed it. You had been living a normal life, working, drinking coffee, laughing at jokes, with blood that should have turned your veins into splinters of glass. Your immune system made even less sense. White blood cell counts weren't slowly declining. They were collapsing in free fall. In the span of 2 days, nearly a third of your immune defense vanished. On paper, you shouldn't have been able to fight off a mild infection. Yet there you were, no fever, no inflammation, no signs of your body attacking itself. Your platelets followed an even stranger rhythm. Every 72 hours, they surged and crashed with mechanical precision. On some days, your blood could clot normally. On others, you should have been bleeding internally. Then, without intervention, your blood was oscillating between life-threatening states and stability. Like it was following an internal schedule no human biology textbook could explain. Dr. Chen pulled up imaging scans and projected them onto the screen, her voice breaking as she pointed out organ stress that should have been fatal weeks earlier. Your liver was processing compounds that shouldn't survive metabolism. Your kidneys were filtering toxins that weren't meant to exist in a human system. Your heart tissue showed signs of strain consistent with imminent failure. This patient is dying, she insisted. I don't care about theories. I'm looking at total systemic collapse. Then Dr. Webb countered, not with optimism, but with data that made the room go quiet. Your DNA wasn't mutating. That word was too mild. It was rewriting itself. Entire genetic sequences had appeared where nothing existed months earlier. Not random errors, not cancer. Structured, organized additions, as if new instructions were being inserted deliberately. When he compared samples taken months apart, the difference was staggering. At a molecular level, your cells were no longer operating under standard human rules. Bends your mitochondria, the engines that power every cell, weren't duplicating normally. They were multiplying exponentially. You had nearly triple the energy-producing capacity of a normal human. By all known laws of biology, that level of energy output should have overheated your body catastrophically. You should have been burning from the inside. Instead, your temperature was flawless. Not just normal, perfect, no fluctuation, no response to stress, activity, or environment. Your body maintained ideal equilibrium with mechanical precision, as if thermoregulation were no longer biological, but engineered. Your metabolism pushed. You were extracting energy from food with near total efficiency, levels that defied human physiology. Matter was being converted to usable energy in ways that bordered on theoretical physics. "This isn't someone shutting down, Doctor," Webb said quietly. "This is someone transitioning." They examined your telomeres next, the biological clocks that dictate cellular aging. Instead of shortening, they were lengthening. Your cells were aging backward while simultaneously showing signs of intense stress. A contradiction, an impossibility. And yet, it was happening. With special clearance, they escalated the testing. A small tissue sample was taken and subjected to conditions designed to annihilate human cells. Extreme heat, freezing temperatures, radiation, chemical assault. Dr. Chen was certain the tissue would necrotize immediately. Dr. Webb believed it would adapt. Both of them were right. The sample died completely within 40 minutes. Total cellular death, Doctor. Chen began documenting your prognosis until the tissue regenerated. Not healed, rebuilt from nothing, as if some internal blueprint activated and reconstructed the entire structure from memory. 6 hours later, the sample was alive again, different, stronger. When they repeated the experiment, the cycle continued. Death, return. Each time, the tissue adapted more efficiently to what had destroyed it. Dr. Webb was electrified. "This is adaptive regeneration," he said. "Evolution in real time, Doctor." Chen cut him off. "This is a patient trapped in a loop between life and death," she said. "This isn't progress. It's suffering." They brought in a third specialist, Dr. Yuki Tanaka, a neurologist. She studied your brain scans and said nothing for 11 minutes. Your neural pathways weren't stable. They were reorganizing constantly. Scans taken days apart showed entirely different routing. Connections vanished. New ones appeared overnight. Structures no human brain should form spontaneously. Your mind wasn't deteriorating. It was reconfiguring itself, And that was the moment they realized the truth they couldn't name. You weren't dying. You weren't evolving in any way science understood. You were existing in between, caught in a state medicine had no language for yet. Your brain, they realized, was not simply changing. It was actively experimenting with itself. Neural networks were being trimmed away and rebuilt in rapid cycles, like a system running simulations, discarding inefficient pathways and testing new configurations. In most humans, the brain settles into relative stability after the mid-20s, plasticity slowing into maintenance. Yours ignored that rule entirely. It behaved like a developing brain, but not like a child's. There was no randomness, no clumsy overgrowth. This was precise, intense, as if something inside your skull was searching for an optimal architecture that had never existed before. Activity in your prefrontal cortex, the region governing judgment, identity, impulse control, and social awareness, displayed patterns no one could classify. You weren't just thinking differently. You were thinking through structures that textbooks insisted remained dormant for an entire lifetime. Entire regions lit up that had no assigned function, not lost abilities resurfacing. New ones announcing themselves without names. Doctor. Tanaka pulled the others aside, her voice low and urgent. She needed an answer immediately, she said, because the data refused to choose one. Was this neurological collapse? Parts of your brain were going dark, shutting down with the unmistakable signature of degeneration. At the same time, other regions were igniting, forming connections at speeds associated only with early development. She had never seen destruction and expansion coexist in the same organ without catastrophic failure. And yet, you were conscious, coherent, stable. Your mind wasn't unraveling. It was reconfiguring, shedding one framework while assembling another, as if transitioning between operating systems mid-process. Bonged? Then came the genetic analysis, the moment the room went silent. Buried within your genome were sequences that did not exist in any human record. Not altered human genes, not corrupted copies. Entirely original chains of DNA. They ran the data through every genetic database they had access to. Medical, evolutionary, military, experimental. There were no matches. Not in humans, not in primates, not in bacteria, plants, or extremophiles. Nothing living or extinct. The implication froze everyone in place. Either you were carrying genetic material from something that no longer existed, or from something that hadn't existed yet. Doctor. Shen argued that these sequences represented uncontrolled oncogenic potential, instructions capable of driving cellular chaos, accelerating death at every level. Doctor. Webb countered that they looked dormant by design, awakening selectively, directing change rather than causing it. If this was evolution, he said, it wasn't random. It was guided. They examined your telomeres again, the protective ends of your chromosomes that dictate cellular lifespan. What they found defied every model of aging biology. In some cells, the telomeres were lengthening, extending beyond normal limits, suggesting theoretical immortality. Those cells could divide indefinitely without degradation. In others, the telomeres were collapsing at terrifying speed, racing toward programmed death. You were running two mutually exclusive biological programs simultaneously. One preparing cells for endless survival, the other accelerating them toward any organism attempting this should have torn itself apart from internal contradiction. Somehow, your body sustained both states, balancing on a biological fault line without falling. Blamed, they summoned specialists quietly, without names, without patient identifiers, only raw data projected onto screens. An immunologist studied the results and shook his head. Your immune system, he said, wasn't defending you from pathogens, targeting you. Not in the chaotic way of autoimmune disease, but with focus, like it was attempting to eliminate outdated tissue. The endocrinologist disagreed with everyone. Your hormonal regulation, she said, wasn't failing. It was refining itself, adjusting levels beyond known human optimization thresholds with mechanical consistency. The hematologist stared at your blood work longer than anyone else. This blood, he finally said, is in the process of dying. No one corrected him. No one needed to, because by then they all understood the same unsettling truth. You were not sick in any way medicine recognized. You were not healthy either. You were mid-transition, caught between biological definitions, occupying a space science had no terminology for yet. Not degeneration, evolution, something in between, unfolding in real time, while you sat in a waiting room, unaware that your body was quietly redefining what it meant to be human. Convenience. They examined your telomeres again, the protective ends of your chromosomes that dictate cellular lifespan. What they found defied every model of aging biology. In some cells, the telomeres were lengthening, extending beyond normal limits, suggesting theoretical immortality. Those cells could divide indefinitely without degradation. In others, the telomeres were collapsing at terrifying speed, racing toward programmed death. You were running two mutually exclusive biological programs simultaneously, one preparing cells for endless survival, them toward extinction. Any organism attempting this should have torn itself apart from internal contradiction. Somehow, your body sustained both states, balancing on a biological fault line without falling. They summoned specialists quietly, without names, without patient identifiers, only raw data projected onto screens. An immunologist studied the results and shook his head. Your immune system, he said, wasn't defending you from pathogens. It was targeting you, not in the chaotic way of autoimmune disease, but with focus, like it was attempting to eliminate outdated tissue. The endocrinologist disagreed with everyone. Your hormonal regulation, she said, wasn't failing. It was refining itself, adjusting levels beyond known human optimization thresholds with mechanical consistency. The hematologist stared at your blood work longer than anyone else. This blood, he finally said, is in the process of dying. No one corrected him. No one needed to, because by then, they all understood the same unsettling truth. You were not sick in any way medicine recognized. You were not healthy either. You were mid-transition, caught between biological definitions, occupying a space science had no terminology for yet. Not degeneration, not evolution. Something in between, unfolding in real time, while you sat in a waiting room, unaware that your body was quietly redefining what it meant to be human. Lang, the geneticist, was the one who finally said it out loud, not softly, not dramatically. Just a flat statement that landed like a verdict. This blood is not failing. It's changing. In that moment, every argument in the room became irrelevant. Everyone had been partially right, and that realization was far more frightening than being wrong. By 4 a.m, the truth settled over the conference room with unbearable clarity. You were not dying in the traditional sense, and you were not evolving in any clean, linear way either. You were doing both at once. Your body had split itself into opposing forces, one system initiating shutdown, dismantling structures that could no longer cope, and another system pushing forward, constructing something entirely new on the ruins of the old. Neither side was winning. Neither side was losing. You were locked in a biological stalemate, and the tension between destruction and advancement was generating something no one had ever seen before. The dying parts of you weren't malfunctioning. They were clearing space. They were erasing outdated instructions, tearing down biological architecture that could never support what was coming next. At the same time, the evolving systems were laying new foundations, installing capabilities that had no precedent, no evolutionary lineage. This wasn't transformation. Transformation implies grace, continuity, a smooth passage from one state to another. What was happening to you was violent and simultaneous, Doctor. Chen was the first to break. By 6 a.m, she had submitted her resignation. In her letter, she wrote that she could not continue treating a patient whose existence invalidated everything she understood about medicine. She had spent 23 years studying how the human body fails, how it shuts down, how it reaches its end. You were failing in ways she couldn't interpret, and surviving in ways she couldn't justify. She never said any of this to your face. She never told you that your blood work haunted her, that it made her question whether her training had prepared her for anything real. She never mentioned the nightmares. Rooms full of patients with your results, textbooks open and useless, no answers anywhere. She simply disappeared from your case and from the hospital entirely. Doctor. Webb followed, but not out of fear, out of hunger. He didn't abandon medicine. He abandoned restraint. He wanted access. Isolation. Experiments no ethics board would ever approve because they required seeing you not as a patient, but as material. In his exit report, he wrote that you represented either the terminal point of human development or the beginning of something that would replace it. He admitted he could no longer be objective. Every time he looked at your data, he didn't see a person. He saw a future that demanded to be taken apart and understood piece by piece. The administration asked him to leave before he could formalize the requests he was already drafting. Dr. Tanaka stayed the longest, 3 months. She watched your brain reorganize itself week after week, watched new cognitive capabilities emerge that had no neurological precedent. She tracked patterns that aligned disturbingly well with theoretical models of expanded consciousness, ideas that were supposed to remain speculative. She resigned after your final scan, because that was when she understood she was no longer observing a medical anomaly. She was observing awareness. The reorganization inside your brain was no longer chaotic or exploratory. It was deliberate, directed. Something inside your head had recognized itself and begun actively redesigning the structure it lived in. Her resignation letter contained a single sentence: the patient is no longer unaware of what is happening to them. Since then, they've tried to hand your case to someone else. Quietly, carefully, your name removed. Only the data shared through private professional channels reserved for unsolvable cases. Every specialist reacts the same way. Initial fascination, followed by unease, then refusal. Because treating you isn't just difficult. It's conceptually impossible. If they stop the cellular death, they may halt whatever is emerging. If they encourage the emergence, they may accelerate the collapse. You force a choice no physician is trained to make. Preserve the human you're leaving behind, or assist the unknown. Most choose neither. What they didn't tell you, what they buried behind clinical language and inconclusive labels, is that this didn't start recently. Your childhood records tell the story in whispers. The pneumonia you survived in 2 days at age 7. The fracture that healed too quickly when you were 12. The blood test at 16 that had to be redone because the results made no sense. Each incident dismissed. Each anomaly filed away. You were always different, just subtly enough to escape attention. Until whatever had been dormant inside, you finally woke up and started running both programs at once. They believe they know what triggered it. Trauma. Not ordinary stress, but the kind that should have ended you. About 2 years ago, something happened. You know what it was. The moment that should have broken you completely. The loss. The betrayal. The psychological collapse your body interpreted as a death signal. The shutdown sequence began. But something older, deeper. Something encoded long before you had words, refused to accept the ending. If death was inevitable, it chose to experiment instead. Your psychological breaking point became biological permission. Dormant genetic instructions activated. The body began rewriting itself. You aren't dying because you're sick. You're dying because the human framework can no longer contain what's emerging. Your body is trying to build a new vessel while dismantling the old one at the same time. That's why the exhaustion comes in waves, why you sometimes feel out of phase with the world, why your reflection feels unfamiliar. You're not imagining the internal conflict. There really are two systems contending for the same body. The doctors were right to be afraid. They witnessed something that challenges every assumption about biology, consciousness, and evolution itself. And the detail that unsettles them the most is this: you're stable. You should be deteriorating. You should be hospitalized. You should be medicated into artificial balance. But you're not. You're functioning, living, carrying both death and emergence with a resilience that suggests this state isn't accidental. It may be exactly what you were built for. That leaves only two possibilities. Either you are a singular anomaly, a biological dead end that will vanish with you, or you are the first visible instance of a process that will eventually appear in others. A preview of a shift no one is prepared to name. Your file was classified not to hide you, but because there was nowhere to file you. You don't fit illness or health, human or non-human. You exist in between, and there is no medical code for that. So they released you, told you the results were inconclusive, asked you to return in 6 months, gave you instructions without knowing what changes would even look like. Because you don't need treatment, you need witnesses. You need someone to document what happens when a conscious human being begins dying into their next form without collapsing. MEM3 doctors walked away because they thought they were seeing the end of everything they understood. Maybe they weren't. Maybe they were seeing the beginning. Because you aren't dying, you aren't evolving. You are both at the same time, and somehow, impossibly, you're still standing.